Welcome to Dadpuzzles. Today we have a special, extraordinary guest. He's a father like myself, like fellow fathers here, and he's the visionary founder of Warrior Dad. Jeff's Wickersham. His mission is nothing short of remarkable, and I don't want to talk much about what he's doing. I would rather have himself speak about his great goals that he has for us. So please welcome today to Dadpuzzles today, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you please share with us because we have this goal of uplifting lives of 1 million dads and also to have a brighter future for subsequently for kids, about 2 million of them by 2053. I don't know. This is awesome, man. And you have so much more like going on. Can you please explain yourself? What's going on? Who are you up to?
Yeah, it is a bold, big, audacious, and I like to call it a mission, right? Not a goal, because a mission is a must, and that's my 30-year time horizon. That's where I'm headed. I'm just not satisfied where society and the world is headed.
Okay.
Anger, polarization, hatred, all these things. And I got to thinking in the beginning of 2023, how do we change the trajectory of where we're headed? And how do we change that? We change it with dads specifically. We change it in the families, right? I feel like the family structure, the family foundation has been eroded over time, right? It's like the beach, right? The sand's just getting washed away, and dads don't know how to truly stand up and be leaders and be authentic and be vulnerable and be strong, but be caring and loving. And there's so many vices out there, whether it's alcohol, porn, gambling, social media, all these distractions that are taking away from who they are as the leader of the family. And they truly are the tip of the spear for their families. And so many dads are stuck in a rut. They're just trying to get through the day. They're focused on work more than family. And many are lone wolves where they're in that cave. They're fighting the demons, the dragons, those things that you face, that I face, that we all face by themselves. I want to bring those dads out into a community, into a brotherhood, because if the dad changes his daily actions, his intentionality and pouring into his family, all of a sudden the family dynamic changes. And that's how I love to say it takes only one dad to change that family tree forever.
That's fantastic. And I think that's where you mentioned this about being leading from the front, correct?
Yeah, we need to lead from the front, right? I see it everywhere in society where so many times we're passively going through life. And I'll share, I wear a pink wristband on my right arm. I lost my mom a little over 9 years ago to breast cancer. The fragility of life 2x4 smacked me upside the head. Like, we get one trip around the sun in this thing called life, right? In addition, as dads, we only have our kids under our roof for 18 years. You have limited time.
Absolutely.
So what are you doing with that time? How are you setting them up for success? How are you creating leaders? How are you giving them the tools, the strategies, the tactics to thrive in life? And many times it's the things we didn't have. I teach my sons about things that I never even knew about until I was in my 40s. They're learning that at 10 and 12 years old. Imagine how amazing that's going to be when they have a 30-year time horizon.
Absolutely.
So we need to be that tip of the spear. We need to lead from the front. Stop listening to what society says related to dads don't matter or men don't. It's so far from the truth. And it's time we break free from those chains of sedation. And we have that inner warrior inside, and he's just waiting to get out. It's that itch on the back of your neck that no matter what, you just can't scratch it. And that's your potential. And until you start that journey of realizing your potential, you're always going to be frustrated. You're always going to be depressed. You're always going to be anxious. You're always going to be thinking that something is missing. That leading from the front is so important, and then the family follows.
Oh, that's magic. Very beautifully said. And also, I remember one of my very first guests, Dr. Clarence Lee. He shared how us as fathers, following our dreams, by living our dreams, that is actually the best thing that you can do to our kids, because that's what it is. Like, you're living, like now, like you're teaching your kids things that you just found out yourself at this age. So with learning, there's no end to learning. We're all going to learn until the end of our time. So we're going to keep living, like doing our best to be the best dads, and also sharing that education with our kids going forward. That's beautiful, my friend. Thank you so much. So I know you mentioned that with your with a warrior dad, which is what like your major project at the moment, you want dads to be uncommon because lately things have been normalized in terms of being really not a good dad, and I think you want people to be there's a word that you mentioned in terms of, let's say, unapologetically, man, dad, this is what I'm supposed to do regardless of what the society says. That's very beautiful. Can you explain further about that?
I think it's just such a great mantra to live by. I say dare to be uncommon.
Right.
And it is daring to be uncommon.
Hmm.
It's easy to go the path of everybody else. And I've taught my sons multiple times, you see the path going that way,
Hmm.
choose to go the other,
Hmm.
because the other is where you're going to find progress, right? If there's a path through the forest,
Hmm.
choose the darkest path, choose the darkest point and enter it where there's no path and create your own path. That's a life to fulfillment. That's a life of thriving. And mediocrity, average, common
Hmm.
is everywhere.
Hmm.
It's so easy to just punt life.
Hmm.
But I know, based upon the last deep conversation I had with my late mother,
Hmm.
when you get to the end of your life,
Hmm.
the thing that's going to matter is the legacy, being remembered, being uncommon,
Hmm.
changing that family tree, giving your kids the tools, strategies, tactics to thrive, right? That's you're going to remember.
Hmm.
And you'll have regrets when you are on your deathbed if you don't chase that best version of yourself. People don't worry about failures or chances they took that didn't work out when they're at the end of their life. They worry about those chances they didn't take, or maybe those moments that they could have poured into their family, but they chose work over that, or social media over
Hmm.
being present with your kids.
Right.
So daring to be uncommon, I just think that's a powerful way to live.
Hmm.
And we need more uncommon people in society. We need more uncommon dads
Right.
to show the way for their kids.
Hmm.
That's how we change the world together as warrior dads.
Oh, that's awesome. And also, I think you mentioned how you want us dads to focus on ourselves first. So, what are the key principles that you, or ideas you want us as dads to really have them so that we can make ourselves better, so that in turn we can make that change, share that change with our families?
Yeah, great question. And it's counterintuitive, right?
Right.
When you hear I should improve myself first, you're
Right.
like, shouldn't I provide for
Hmm.
my kiddos? Shouldn't I focus on them?
Hmm.
Shouldn't I happy wife, happy
Hmm.
life, put myself it's not true. You will be a worse version of yourself. You will not show up as the most powerful leader,
Hmm.
dad, husband, man that you can be when you focus on everybody else. I want you to take care of yourself first, because when you're in shape physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you can run at a fast
Hmm.
pace. You can bring energy to your kids. You can be more attentive to your wife. You can do all these things versus the other way, feeling crappy about yourself. You're struggling mentally. You can't go up the steps without being out of breath, right? You don't have energy.
Hmm.
You've got to take care of yourself first.
Hmm.
When you do that, man, you operate from a different perspective. And I'm not saying do it all day, every day,
Right.
but control. I like to start with the foundation, controlling the bookends. What do you do at night? What do you do first thing in the morning?
Hmm.
That's what we can control. We can't control the chaos that happens throughout the day.
Hmm.
But if you can control how you wind down, how you prepare for a great night's sleep,
Right.
wake up in the morning, stack 7 wins
Hmm.
in 1% of your day, which is 14 minutes, 24 seconds,
Hmm.
man, you're going to be an energetic, powerful force. And the family's going to feed off of that. And we need to be that warrior. And you know what? Warriors are in shape
Hmm.
physically and mentally. Warriors go to battle and fight every day.
Right.
We need to embrace that warrior mentality.
Hmm.
And then we get up and we start attacking, and then our kids do, then our wives do. And then we're like almost a sports team as a family. And then we're all supporting each other, cheering each other on. And it's amazingly powerful to watch the dynamic change.
Oh, that's beautiful. So those are the key practices in terms of taking care of both ends of our days, and like making sure that we have a good like mentality, which comes with being active. That's beautiful. What are the activities like in terms of? Is there any particular activities that dads can do in terms of, let's say, exercises? What do you recommend for them if they cannot afford going to the gym? Things that they can do themselves, maybe at home or something, or activities with kids. Is there anything you recommend for them?
Yes, I have 3 non-negotiables that I've done
Hmm.
every day for the past 6+
Hmm.
years. One is first thing you wake up, drink a full glass of water.
Hmm.
Our body is made 60 plus% of water, vital organs, 70 plus percent. Drink a full glass of water. That's going to hydrate the system. Longest stretch of the day you go without water is when you're sleeping. So you got to rehydrate the system. Number 2, you got to move. That could be going up and down the stairs 5 times. It could be going for a walk. It could be 10 burpees. I do push-ups, air squats, and sit-ups every morning to get the body, to get the energy naturally moving. We are meant to move. But yet as men, we're sitting almost all day long.
It's going to be reverse.
Right? So you want to change your energy? Change the dynamic of moving in the morning.
Right.
You got water, you hydrated the system, you got movement. Last one is meditation. Right? We got physical rep in. Now we need to get a mental rep in. Could be as simple as just breathing, 6 count in through the nose, 2 second hold, 7 seconds out. Do that 4 times. That's a minute of meditation. I've meditated for 6 straight years, at least 10 minutes a day.
Nice.
Why? It's mental reps. It gives me the ability to pause when something happens and step in between that stimulus and response, right? Viktor Frankl in his famous book, Man's Search for Meaning, he says that's the true freedom in life, right? Something happens. Instead of being reactionary and flying off the handle, we choose our response, right? So water, movement, meditation, those are 3 things you can do anywhere in the world. I don't care if you're on vacation, traveling for work, and you get some semblance of progress before you let anything else come in from an input perspective.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. And also, how can folks, let's say, if they want to follow this, to learn this and more by joining your group, the Warrior Dad, what are they expecting to gain by being with you, my friend?
Yeah, three staples that I say are essential to success in life. Energy. You're going to dial in your energy. You're going to play at a higher level than you've played in some time.
Right.
Or maybe ever. You're going to get consistency. I like to say consistency is the ultimate force multiplier, right? You're going to do these things day in and day out.
Right.
So many times we do things for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then the results aren't there. We give up.
Right.
But you might have been a week away from actually hitting your target.
Right.
Consistency day in and day out. When we show up consistently, then we step into the best version of ourselves. And lastly, you're going to be held accountable. If you're not showing up, I'm going to be on your butt to show up, because as adults, especially as men, we get to be dads and there's not really anybody holding us accountable. Maybe if you work for somebody, there's a little accountability there, but it's pretty easy just to be average and not get fired. No, I hold you accountable to chase the best version of yourself day in and day out. So those are our 3 kind of staples to the Warrior Dad experience.
Oh, okay. So normally, the challenges that we face as dads, normally it will be taking care of the family, making sure that we're there for them, and making sure everybody is doing better in the aspects, whether it's school for kids and wife with our projects, etc. And also we have our own personal growth that you mentioned, which allow those things that you mentioned that we can do to better ourselves. And then you also have our career aspect. So we have all these 3 things going on with us. So how do you, as a Warrior Dad, put that intentionality and balance into all that?
Yeah, we set on a weekly basis 3 missions.
Okay.
And again, I'm huge on
The
language.
3s, yeah.
Goals are kind of corporate speak.
Right.
Missions are a must.
Right.
And I love the power of the number 3.
Mission, okay.
We set one big domino to knock over personally. Do we ever strategically think on a weekly basis, hey, what's one big domino I need to knock over this week? Many times we don't, because we're just busy. We're going.
Right.
What's one big domino we want to knock over professionally? And then what's one big domino we want to knock over that's uncomfortable? Maybe we procrastinated on it. So we strategically think about that on a daily basis. We get it into our messaging app, our chat, because you put it in there, you're 42% more likely to achieve those things, right? But that strategic thinking, hey, what do I want to do this week in those 3 areas? Then you put it in, then you chase it, and then you get that stuff done, right? It's one thing to say it, and so many people, so many dads say something, but then they never do it.
Absolutely.
That erodes the trust that their wives have in them, right? Because they say something, then they never follow through. So I love personal, professional, uncomfortable missions on a weekly basis, and that gets you movement in those 3 areas that you had mentioned.
That's beautiful. And I think this is important because a lot of times we have things that we have to do them because they're urgent and they're important. So the things that you mentioned that we have to knock them over every week, those are things that are important, but we haven't put the urgency because there's no deadline on it. So by placing this deadline on a weekly basis or daily, That's beautiful. It pushes them into the quadrant of this is necessary, they have to be done. That's beautiful, my
Yeah.
friend. That's beautiful. Yes, sir. I liked how you use the word mission, by the way, not the goals. That's
Thank you.
that's good. So another mission is about eliminating this negative um, like self-talk. A lot of times you have some personal demons. So how do you normally, fight that? How do you encourage dads to fight that? What are the means that you have to share with the
Yeah.
dads?
So two ways, right? One is you got to define who you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
What's your identity? You ask 100 dads who they are,
Mm-hmm.
99 would say, I have no clue. What identity? Who the heck? I'm a dad.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you want to show up as in that dad capacity, that husband capacity?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to show up from a work capacity, either career or owning your own business? Who are you? And then how do you want to show up from an energy perspective? So defining your identity is an absolute game changer. Why?
Mm-hmm.
So many times we rely on how we feel. Well, when you rely on how you feel, many times we don't feel like doing the things we're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
So what happens? You don't take action. Then what subsequently happens? Your identity erodes, right? You feel crappier about yourself. You look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, man, I'm a failure day in and day out, right? That's that hopelessness. That's that just depression that so many dads fall into.
Right.
I like to flip it around, say identity 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Then you take action upon your identity. And then you know what? You feel good about it and you start to spiral up. So you got to define who you are from identity perspective.
Okay. Okay.
Then you've got to feed that positive wolf, that positive dog all day long. When you feel that self-doubt creep in, when you feel, and we all have 1 or 2 automatic negative beliefs that we've taken from childhood. I had one that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't worthy. I fight that demon, that dragon. I still do it to this day. He's never going to go away. I know that, but I got to feed the positive side. So being around groups of dads specifically that are on the attack, that are fighting, right? I'm the tip of the spear for the warrior dad experience. I lead by example. I get those dads moving and then it starts to build. The other is feeding your mind with positive self-talk. And I listen to YouTube videos from some of the greatest motivational speakers in the world while I'm in the gym, while I'm in the shower, while just before this, I was cooking breakfast. I had Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Eric Thomas cheering me on. Why? Because it fires me up and I feed that positive wolf versus how so many dads operate. They're scrolling through social media. You got comparison theory of everybody's highlight reel. They're looking at the news that it's toxic. It's all negative. They're checking email and just scrolling through it. No, you got to feed that positive wolf, right? That will help propel you to be stronger, to be bolder, to be more courageous. And it's amazing how when you do that, especially early in the morning, it lights you up. So defining your identity, who are you? And it can be somebody in the future, right? You can future pace your success.
Right.
That's how I want to show up as daily. And then feeding that positive wolf, that positive dog day in and day out, it makes you a powerful force.
Oh, that's beautiful. And because actually, by the way, you should not feel alone on this aspect. Many folks that actually, when you're learning about a subject, you get to a point where you feel like, because you don't know how much you don't know yet, you get that uncomfortableness. So people that feel very comfortable with the subjects, they most of the time, whether they can be knowing the subject or they can be the not knowing as much that they don't even face what if. So it's good that you do worry about yourself being better, so you push yourself to do better. And one of the things that really I use it to also among listening to folks is trying to remember that big picture. Like, why am I doing this? We are doing this because of the impact, like making the impact on somebody that in turn can impact their families and such, and the community, etc. Me, when I remember that, I'm set. That the negative talk, that the negative self-talk just dies down. But it's good to really continue with exercises and listening to these positive talks. I think that's very important. And because some people, they have it in a way that is very severe, that is a disease. Like it goes into depression and such. Like they hear that the negative talk and to the point where they need medication, or like you have different
Well,
stages.
yeah, here, I've worked with dads
Yeah,
that have been on anxiety
big
medications.
time.
When we've dialed in the bookends,
Yeah.
they've gotten completely off the anxiety medications
See?
because they're controlling some semblance, and typically anxiety, depression falls in where they wake up, they go to negativity, they're looking at the news, they're looking at what they got to do today, and it just spirals out of control versus stacking wins, feeling progress, feeling momentum, feeling good about yourself that you can do without that medication piece, right? So it's been amazing to watch that transpire and those dads transform through being in that space.
That's beautiful, my friend. And I'm happy that we're in this space, we're doing this, and so that we can all really become better fathers, better communities. So, my friend, we have these societal issues where sometimes dads, we are pressured to do things that, let's say, they're not necessarily good for us, or just the common misconceptions. Can you talk a little bit about that, and how does the warrior dad talk about this issue?
Yeah, we're inundated as men, as dads, with vices. You watch a football game, there's alcohol is everywhere, gambling is everywhere, and maybe you have half-dressed women dancing around as well. And those are the big three, right? Alcohol, porn, and gambling. When you go down that path, you're going to get an immediate dopamine hit. But man, it erodes of who you are, right? You might feel good in the moment, and that's why it's so addictive and so dopamine producing. But then you have the regret afterwards. That's not truly who I am. But so many people are just stuck in the matrix, I like to say, where they're just, this is the way I should act. Hold on a second. Is that truly the way you should act? And I've gone through each one of those three areas personally, right? I gave up alcohol 2 years ago. Why? To set the example for my 2 teenage sons that there's a different path. I just had 2 weeks ago, my oldest son was at a party with alcohol and tobacco and vaping. He asked me to pick him up early. He said, "Dad, that's not me." He made that choice in the moment. We're sedated to just be these buffoon dad bod, right? And it's just not the case, man. Be the best version of yourself. That leads to fulfillment. That will lead to happiness at a different level than you have ever felt in your life. And those vices, they're out there for a reason, right? They're so addictive. They're so, just eroding who we are as men. So you got to watch out for them. You got to get around others that are doing that path, that virtuous path of stepping away from them, being the best version. When you're around that group, it's a lot easier to say no to those things. Yeah, they're just out there and they're minefields for dads to navigate. And many times they're just struggling with that component.
My friend, I want to actually make it official here as I'm speaking to you. I have been approached by folks with the gambling, because in sports, whether it's football, soccer, I think nowadays with the MMA as well, we have a lot of gambling. So I've been saying no to them because I don't want to create a problem to fathers. And my goal is to create positivity, not because if people lose their homes or their life savings and all these things, what am I going to tell? Like, what I'm going to be responsible as well. So I'm with you, my friend. No gambling, no alcohol. Yes, sir. Perfect, my friend. So that's that. That's beautiful. And what about we have these issues of creating legacy? Because some people, they will quote the Bible, for instance, in terms of like children, like you're trying to create that effect that it's not going to only last for you, but also your kids and your kids as well. So what's the warrior dad's legacy goal?
Yeah, it's that one dad changing his family tree forever. And I go back to the late conversation with my late mother. She was scared she was going to be forgotten.
Oh,
imagine being at the end of your life.
Right.
And that's what you're so fearful that I'm just going to be forgotten. And I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. It was 9+ years ago. And I was in the car. I was taking her down to the University of Penn for a radiation treatment.
I'm sorry.
And I didn't know it, but the baton was passed from her to me in that moment.
Yes.
Looking back, I connect the dots, right? I love Steve Jobs' Stanford's commencement speech when he says, hey, you just got to have faith and belief that looking back, the dots will connect. Looking back, I told her that your positivity, your hope will live on through me and my 2 boys. And it is.
Okay.
So at the end, if that's what we're worried about, being forgotten, today you need to start creating that legacy. And I feel like as dads, it's our duty.
Right.
As dads, we have been gifted with one of the most amazing things ever, right? Greatest gift I've ever been given is having 2 sons. We need to set our kids up. We need to give them those things we didn't have, strategies, tools, tactics. And I'm not saying material things.
Right.
I'm saying, how do they embody grit, hard work, effort, tenacity, relentlessness, right? Those type of things.
Right.
That's what we need to instill in that next generation, because I will tell you, I am that one dad that will change my family tree forever. And the legacy is going to last generations after generations. And this is why the 1 million to 2 million is so powerful. Imagine that 3 generations down the road.
Right.
And it's 16 million
Right.
people we've impacted. Then we've made a dent in the universe. We've made a change in the world for good.
Right.
And for families to play all out and be so connected and love each other the way we truly want to. But so many times we're sedated. We don't know the roadmap. We don't have the system.
Right.
Life's kicking our butt.
Right.
There is a different path, right? And back to that word. It's an uncommon path. You've got to have the courage to step through the door. But if you have the courage to step through the door, I will teach you the strategies, tactics, and tools to leverage yourself, but also to share with your family and your kids and your wives to do the same things. Yep.
That's beautiful. I know you've shared this is like a couple times about your mom. May she rest in peace. So was she the only one that raised you, or can you tell us a little bit about your parents?
Yeah, no, I had great parents growing up. My dad is still around. I'm impacting the generation up now because he's working out with me a couple days a week, and he sees a lot of his friends dying because they stopped moving.
The health,
they stopped being active. Yeah. He's 77 years young. He's still driving. He's been a volunteer fireman for 40 some years. Nice. He's still driving a fire truck, still active, still positive as far as from an energetic perspective. Right. And while I took the hope side from my mother, I would say the positive side came from my dad. He's known as Positive Paul, right? Always upbeat, positive. And that's a great dynamic that I was able to take from both of those sides of the equation.
Oh, that's beautiful. I have one of the guests. I'd ask her, what question would you like to ask for me to ask the next guest that is a dad? She said that, what is that one particular moment that made you feel like, oh yes, I have to be the best father? I think for you, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I would say there's multiple moments, but I'll pick one out that started me on this journey. And I left corporate America a couple years after my mom passed and opened up a gym, local boutique gym, because I was always into physical fitness and multiple iterations. Here I am with the Warrior Dad. Right. But I remember back in the gym, I was still doing the things I had done in my 20s and 30s. And I remember it was a Friday night and I hung out and played cards with the buddies and drank beer till 2:30 in the morning. Woke up, needed to teach a fitness class at 8 a.m. Went to kiss my wife before I left. And she asked me, she said, I got to be honest, how are you going to go teach a fitness class when you reek of alcohol? And I said, whew, that's a powerful truth bomb you sent my way. And those kind of moments were moments to say, wait a second, is this the example I want to set for my sons? Is this the example I want to set for my family and my legacy? And that's one example that kind of pops out that definitely always resonates with me.
Oh, okay. So what other question would you like to share to ask the next dad in our podcast about fatherhood? Sorry, this is...
Yeah, no, I would say, what are you doing to impact others around you on a daily basis?
Okay.
Right? That's a powerful question to ask yourself. And so many times, I mentioned this a couple of times in the podcast, right. We're just going. We're busy. We're not intentionally like giving energy to somebody. We're not intentionally saying, hey, have a great day. You asked 100 people, 99 will say, how's your day going? Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
I don't want good. Right. I want great. I want amazing. I want epic. I want legendary. And people look at me like I got two heads when I say those sort of things. But I got the ability to wake up and breathe air today.
What else do you need?
I got the ability to hug and kiss my sons and my wife. You know how awesome that is?
Right.
It's just amazing. And too many times we're missing those micro moments because we're focused on BS that doesn't matter. Where, hey, got an opportunity to have another day. That's amazing.
That's amazing, my friend. So this is really, it's been an inspiring talk, and I really appreciate you coming to our podcast today and you being the driving force of Warrior Dad. I hope folks can look you up and join you and learn from you as well, because we need that knowledge to be passed on. So thank you so much for really sharing these valuable insights with us. And for us as dads, really, we have to remember all the great points that you have mentioned. And people, please go ahead and follow Jeff at his website, Warrior Dad, and get like subscribe, and he will send you some information, and you will definitely get some more info there as well. And visit us on dadpuzzles.com as well, and sign up. We're preparing some great newsletter that can be really helpful to you and the community as well. Thanks so much for listening to us today. Thank you.